Welcome to Wedding Day Podcast with your hosts, Sonja Babich, CEO of Iron Diamond Media, a leading wedding resource featuring 7 localized wedding brands across the country, and Dan Riggs, photography and videography expert and founder of Summit Hill Studios. Come along as they travel from state to state to connect with the most creative and well-respected professionals in the wedding industry. Every episode will arm you with the hottest new trends, wedding day tips and details, and they'll show you all the joys of planning your perfect wedding day.
Hi everybody, Sonja Babich here with Wedding Day Podcast. We are filming here at the 440 Elm in Long Beach, California. We're so excited to be here. I'm sitting with my partner and friend, Amanda Holder, publisher of California Wedding Day. And now we are actually going to introduce you all to Brian Franklin. He is the owner and founder of Vows Speeches. We're very excited about talking with him today because it's very educational as well, and it's something that a lot of you never thought was available for you. But a little bit about him, I'm going to take out my phone because he has quite the list of where he's been featured. He has been featured on the New York Times, ABC News, Yahoo, Forbes, and major bridal magazines, including California Wedding Day, and has been a finalist for Best of Statewide Product or Service for 3 years in a row here in California. So welcome, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So this is, when we first chatted, I was educated. Mm-hmm. So not knowing that your service is now available, and it's so unique, and so many couples need you. So tell us about how you thought to even dive into this world of helping couples write their vows and speeches on wedding days.
Yeah, vows, speeches, and ceremony scripts for your friends and family officiants. And really, I kind of fell into this. I had written some speeches for friends and family members because they knew that I had done this kind of work in politics. I was working as a political consultant for too many years, and I've been trying for a long time to try and find something to get out of doing that and do something for the good of humanity. And so I had this skill set where I was a writer and doing public speaking coaching and debate. In the political world, it was debate prep and media prep. But it's the same basic idea. It's how to make people feel more comfortable speaking and more comfortable and confident in what they're saying. And so I had officiated a few weddings, and I was interviewing somebody on my own podcast, and I had the idea that maybe I should look at wedding speeches. Mm-hmm. And at the time, it was still the pandemic. A lot of wedding professionals were on this app called Clubhouse, which I don't even know if it still exists, but it was basically an audio conference room, and people would get in and you could raise your hand, and there were a lot of wedding professionals there. I raised my hand. I said, "What do you guys think about this?" And they're like, "Oh, this is great. Add ceremonies and vows." And a light went on. About 5 minutes later, I had vowsandspeeches.com.
Brilliant.
I mean, it just happened to be there. And then about 2 hours later, I had a site on Squarespace written. I already had the photo, the stock photo stuff. And so I threw it out all together, and I put up a Google ad, and I got a client like the next day.
Wow.
And so obviously it wasn't that easy. It's not that easy. But what we started to realize is that people need help. Even great writers struggle. 1 to 2 minutes, summarize the love of your life, go. It's not that easy, especially if you're trying to do it last minute under pressure. And a lot of ceremony officiants don't know how to write an 8 to 10 minute beautiful love story and have all the requisite parts. And we all know what happens in wedding speeches, and anybody that's been to a wedding has suffered through it. Right?
Oh my gosh, too many.
Way too many.
Right. So so there's that aspect of, okay, if you know somebody in your wedding party is going to drink 12 bourbons and go off the rails, or your dad's going to talk for 2 hours,
right,
then maybe let's give them some help in advance. And so that was the basic thinking. And the more and more that we've been exposed to the public, and the more that they've said, yeah, I need help, or somebody in my wedding party needs help, or I want to give my ceremony officiant some help.
Yeah.
And that's really how this got started and how it's going.
Yeah.
So talk about the process. So like a couple reaches out to you, what does that process look like to help writing their vows?
I don't believe in questionnaires. I think questionnaires, you're asking somebody that might already be having trouble writing then write answers to something, and that's difficult. I talk to them, and we do a hour long. Sometimes it's even more when we're doing ceremonies because we have more space that we have to fill in the narrative. But we'll get into questions that go way further than how did you meet, or how, when did he propose, or how did he propose. We'll get into, or she proposed. We'll get into things like when you saw their profile on Hinge or whatever it was. What struck your eye? Like, was there anything about that first interaction that was kind of fun? What was the thing when you first went to your date? That first date, where like, how nervous were you? Tell me what you were thinking. Do you remember seeing them for the first time?
You kind of pull on the heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah, and I get to that stuff, but then I also get to the fun stuff about how you guys lived together or moved in together. What was something that you wanted to throw out, right? That they had. You're like, no way, we're not bringing your couch. Absolutely not, right?
Especially
recliner's got to go.
You're not bringing that couch, right? I know that couch. You're not bringing that couch, right? What was something that you want to throw away now, right? And what do they have to do what do they have to withstand to live with you, right? What do you do that's annoying, right?
Yeah.
And when you get to that stuff, that's the fun. Those are the fun parts that create color to the wedding, that make it less generic.
Right.
We've all heard the same wedding over and over and over.
I love that you said that, because in a sense, a ceremony is a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to entertain your wedding guests when they come to the big show, right? For you to get married.
And also, this is why you're there as an audience member. You want to see the love. You want to know why you love each other. And the vows, when they're done correctly, are the best part of their wedding. I mean, that's the part where people cry. That's the part,
or giggle or smile, probably too.
Or all of the above. I mean, we want all of that to happen in that short span of time. But that's the part when you declare your love for somebody in front of them, but not just declare it. You want to know. You tell them why.
Yeah.
And how this thing works. There are people in your audience that may never have seen you as a couple before.
Right.
There are people in your audience that
Right.
may know one side of you because they work with you, and they've met the other person, but that doesn't necessarily mean they know what makes you guys tick as a couple. That that when you've gotten into an argument, you stop and you slow dance together, or whatever it is.
Yeah. It's a little glimpse into the life you've built so far and the life you're building together.
And you're getting people invested in the event itself. Yeah. And you're also taking these moments that you've paid to get on camera, right? As from a videography standpoint, and you've actually given them something that is worthy of being on camera.
Yeah. I just thought of as like your wedding guests, when they come and they sit down at a table and it's assigned seating and you don't know everybody, they can actually, their one connection is the couple. Right. Woo! Oh, is this a siren? Excuse me. I was like, what's going on? Is there a ghost in here?
It's Long Beach, it happens.
But I was like, so you're sitting at a table and you don't know everybody, but their one common thing is the couple, right? And they can go back to the vows to help bring up some similar situations, right, with moments from each other. So
to break the ice.
You're getting people not just educated about who you are, you're getting them excited about the marriage and believing that this is something that's really cool. And everybody that I've talked to, every single couple has something in them that makes them really cool that's different than the last couple.
Yeah. And the ceremony is the most important part. That's why everybody's here.
Yes.
But it also helps set the tone and energy to go into the reception.
Right. And the last thing that you want after spending all of this time and energy and money putting this thing together that's supposed to be you and personalized to you is for your ceremony officiant to panic at the last minute, go on Google and get their standard template.
Wing it.
or worse, wing it, right? But
that's no meaning. That's not being practical.
It's going to be the same thing everybody's seen before, and you're just, at that point, people are just waiting for cocktail hour.
Yeah.
Right? They're just waiting they're sitting in the sun, you want to get them out. They just want to go, and so let's make it fun, let's make it funny, let's make it sentimental, let's tell them the story in those 8 minutes. And also let's take some of the burden off of the person that you've asked to do this because you've asked them to do something that's actually really difficult for some.
Right.
Yeah. Let's go into speeches.
Yeah.
Of course, I've had my fair of horrible speeches and also a fair of good speeches.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And reason why I want to share this story is I witnessed a wedding when the bridal party drinks too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then the maid of honor and the best man, I don't know if they're even coherent to do their speech.
Yeah.
And then they do it really quick and there's no meaning, or it's really drawn out and you just lost and you kill a buzz.
Yeah.
Those speeches can be energy lifters.
Yeah.
Right? So like how does like a couple, like how do they get you to help their friends?
Oh, sure. It's very easy. They just say, as part of this, what we're doing with this wedding, we actually have somebody to help people craft their speeches, and we're giving this, you could say we're giving it to everybody, or we have this, right? And we did this for you because I know you're short on time or whatever it might be. And people accept the help pretty easily. It's
good.
Oh yeah, no, it happens all the time. Because they know it's difficult. Look, everybody that gets up there with a microphone wants to do a great job.
Right.
It's their intent to do a great job.
They don't want to do badly.
They might severely overestimate their comedic skills. Right?
Yeah, that is so common. And they're like, and they say something like, "Why aren't they laughing?
Right.
Yeah.
Why aren't they laughing?"
Or they're panicking and they go super short, right? Or there's something that happens, but
Yeah.
they want to do well. They don't want to ruin the moment for you. Sometimes they may not like both of the partners and they struggle. What do I say in these moments?
That's such a big thing.
It's a big thing and it happens all the time. And so it's like, okay, you got to work with that. The point of the speech is a gift to the couple. Right?
Yeah.
You're doing something
and it should
to
be about
enhance
the
event.
couple.
Right.
Sometimes you get these speeches and it's all about like the relationship they have with just the bride or just with the groom or the partner.
And they're reliving their whole childhood, high school, college
Nobody
history.
wants to hear that.
3 to 4 minutes. And also you want to keep it to 3 to 4 minutes because there is a timeline.
Yes.
And you've paid for a caterer or whatever.
Amen to that.
And
Yes.
that food is going to come out cold and late if your father goes on for 15, 20 minutes. And I've heard up to 50 minutes, 50, right?
Oh my goodness.
But even 3 or 4 people going to 10 instead of 4 will throw the whole thing off.
It cuts into that dance time.
Cuts into your dance time, right? And to your point, it dips the energy of the entire wedding, right? Everybody's excited. You're having this big moment. You've put people at a table to talk to each other. They're talking, and now you're going to tell them to be quiet. Listen to this, right? And if you don't think 3 to 4 minutes is a lot, watch the Oscars again. Right?
Yeah.
At what point were you like, okay, let's just wrap it up
Cue
here.
music. Maybe weddings need a cue music.
Right. You don't want it to be too
point.
short. You don't want it to be too short, but 3 to 4 minutes is plenty to be sentimental, to be fun, to tell them why you love both of them, and to get in and get out.
I know this is a little corny, being a past venue coordinator. You can tell if a good speech is by the service staff. Because that's kind of the time when my team would be like, okay, we can't do anything because we don't want to be serving or making distractions during speeches. So they listen to them. And sometimes you can see them rolling their eyes. Or they're like, oh.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what we're aiming for, right? We want people laughing and crying for the right reasons.
Yeah. And you can see, like, if it's a good speech, they're like, it puts your service staff in a pep in their step.
Right.
Like, we are proud to be serving this wedding.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy, but it's true.
Yeah.
And it's not just people that are it's not just people that have trouble with restraint, whether it's going on too long or I'm going to wing it, and they go on for 10 minutes because they don't realize what they're doing. It's also people that are just terrified of getting in front of 100 or so people.
400 even.
To talk about how much they love somebody or they love a couple. There's just a hard thing to do for many people.
Yeah, that's much more common that people don't like speaking in public than people who do.
Like over 75% of people have some level of speaking anxiety.
Wow.
The difference is, and I mean, even me,
Let's
worry
quote
about
that. That'll be
right?
the quote.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if you like what you've written with somebody, you've gotten guidance, you've gotten feedback, you like the content, and then you've gotten some coaching, which is part of what we do. We help them with the delivery coaching. if you've had both of those aspects, you're going to go up there with so much more confidence. And I've seen it over and over and over again where somebody that we've had is terrified to do it, but they're the sister. They have to, right? Or whatever it is. But if they like what they've written, they feel it represents what's in their heart, and they can go up there and they feel practiced and ready to do it, they're going to nail it.
Right.
And they're going to love it today, and it's going to be great for them, and they're not going to be worried as much.
Yeah. So what are your tips to doing their speeches and vows, like to help prep them to give that little like confidence boost before?
On the delivery side?
Yeah.
Practicing it out loud over and over and over again.
Okay.
10, 15 times at least, getting that muscle memory. I'm someone that will stammer a little bit when I'm speaking extemporaneously. I'll do the ums and the knows and the dudes and whatever it is, right? But if I practice what I'm doing, I don't do that. And that muscle memory also allows you to stop reading it word by word, and you start reading it almost phrase by phrase or sentence by sentence.
Right.
And that allows you to lift off the page a little bit and look somebody in the eye, or to concentrate on the tone of your voice and actually sounding like you're telling a joke as opposed to telling a joke. Like, it just, you change your whole tone when you have some fluency with it. And so that's the number one thing. And it also allows you to time it, because a lot of people come in and they think they have 3 minutes, but what they really have is 10 because they think it's like a minute a page.
Right.
It's not.
No.
No, it's not.
It's not even close. It's like 3 minutes a page in some cases. So that allows them to figure out how to time it correctly. It allows them to emote correctly. And it just gives them a sense of how to express it the way that they want to express it. And sometimes also reading it out loud, it sounds very different than seeing it on the page, and you realize, okay, I've got to make this a contraction, or I've got to take this word out because I'm going to stumble over it, and that kind of thing.
I think that's so good to like talk about that, because even for me, again, I didn't bring back alcohol. Like, don't do one.
Yeah.
Like, you can
Or
maybe do
maybe
one before,
wait until
or wait and
afterwards.
complete
Yeah.
after.
Right.
Because it sneaks up on you.
But that's all-
My best friend, it snuck up on her.
Oh, sure.
For our friend's wedding, she had like 1 or 2 glasses of champagne, and it snuck up on her. And I'm like,
and that's all the more reason to practice. But that's all the more reason to like, if there's somebody in your wedding party that you know is going to be drinking, right? Like if it's your father or your best man or something. That's all the more reason to give them help. Because if they've rehearsed it enough times and it's on paper, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to deviate.
Yeah.
They're going to read it the way that they've been practicing it, even if they're drunk, right? But if you give them the microphone and you haven't given them guidance and they're drunk, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I've heard it.
And it's a long day. So
Yeah.
like, I'm just more bringing it up. It sneaks up on you faster.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's good to be why not be more prepared?
Yeah. It's a fun, look, it's between the ceremony and the speeches, you're talking about 45, 50 minutes of your entire wedding. It's a giant chunk of your wedding that you want to give professional guidance. We spend a lot of time on optics. You guys do a wonderful job of showing the pictures.
Yeah.
But it's the content that really can make those moments as much as the optics. And so, and if they blow the content, then all the optics in the world aren't going to save you.
Yeah.
No.
Right? And so somebody says the wrong thing. So I think it's just giving some attention to those things so that those moments are as beautiful as the rest of the wedding. That's the goal. The disaster avoidance piece of it is very important. There are for some people you have to do that with.
Right.
But more than that, you just don't want it to be boring. You want it to be beautiful and fun. And that's part of, and match the aesthetics of the wedding.
Yeah, and it builds the whole overall experience during like the dinner reception and then leading into the dance too.
Yeah.
So okay, so you mentioned parents, dads with their speeches. What if there's multiple parents and they all want to do one?
Yeah.
What's your guidance?
families.
Yeah, split families. Like, what is your guidance to the couple to do that?
I've seen people divided up between the rehearsal dinner and the wedding itself.
I agree.
So I've seen some of that. The downside to that is you want to make sure you get that on video too, because some people, people aren't going to be around forever. We made a mistake when I got married many years ago. We didn't have a videographer. We're like, we'll just, who needs that, right? Well, we'll remember. I wish I had those people on video. right? And we were very, very lucky. We had a friend that videotaped our kids giving speeches, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have that. So
I love that.
I think make sure you have a videographer for those things, but you can split it between the rehearsal and the actual event. But if you do have to put them all in the event, you break them up, of course.
Right.
Make sure they're not all one after the other. You want to probably limit the time a little bit more, so maybe it's a 2-minute speech instead of a 3 to 4. Make sure that they know that if they go past a certain point, you're going to do the Oscar music play them off thing, because you don't want to have a scenario where
I would love
Right.
to
where
see
you're-
that
where
happen.
you're-
Cue the orchestra, please.
right. You want to be very clear with them, because otherwise you're putting your wedding planner in a position like, should I cut him off, and like, should I
Right.
go up there and grab the mic or something like
Yeah,
that?
it's very
Huck.
awkward and uncomfortable.
Right. You don't. It could get really, really uncomfortable. So make sure your wedding party is clear about what the ground rules are, and limit the time if necessary. Spread them out, but
Yeah, I was
sometimes
gonna
that's
say
unavoidable.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna bring that up, like timeline, because
Pre
I
and
do
post.
not like when speeches are all in a row.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a buzzkill.
Yeah, it really is.
What do you see as the most successful?
Well, I think whether you put two next to each other, I think what matters is ordering them properly, because the
Yes.
last thing that you want,
Right.
And
whatever,
communicating to them when they're speaking.
Yes.
right,
Too.
throw away tradition here. Okay,
Yeah.
if you know, like when I work on a wedding, I'm working on one right now where we're doing all the speeches. That gives me a chance to say to the wedding planner, hey, this one's gonna be good, but this one's fantastic, right? This one's gonna nail it. Let's put them last. The last thing you want to do is put them first or
Right.
second and
Yes.
scare the crap out of the people that are coming afterwards.
Yeah.
But also, you're going to dip the energy going into the next
Yeah,
thing.
you wanna build.
You want to build it, right?
Yeah.
So do you, say they don't work with you, and
Yeah.
we're just telling couples right now, do you recommend that they actually share the speech in advance to somebody, so then they know the kind of the energy
Yes,
levels?
but not the couple.
Yeah, not the couple.
Not the couple.
Yeah.
Whether it's the planner or a friend or somebody that can just look it
I think
over.
that a deadline is great, because then you
Yeah.
know that they're
Right.
prepared too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to keep people to those kinds of deadlines,
It is
right?
hard.
It's hard to chase
Reality,
them down.
yeah.
That's why I think the communication between the couple and the wedding party speakers are so important.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to say, hey, are you nervous about this? How do you feel about your speech? Are you good? Because if they are really nervous, then that would be reason to push them up a little bit, maybe put them second, not
Right.
put them fourth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had a lot of speeches for my wedding, so I like to bring that in for ideas. But we did have my father-in-law speak at the rehearsal dinner, so that was the day before. My parents actually did it at the cocktail hour.
Oh.
Yep, and it was then we walked to the tent before
Oh.
then, because then it was just a thank you
Yeah.
for coming. Now let's make our way
Yeah,
to
it's
break
like
it
a
up.
nice welcome.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we did one after each course. So, because courses are still going to be like eating while they're doing, but the head table is usually done eating just first before
Yeah.
the last table just got their food. So it's giving that period of like you can enjoy.
Yeah.
And then next one comes out, and then the next one,
Yeah.
speech. So it just breaks it up, and it's not so back to back.
Yeah,
And
and-
I think it's nice too if the couple does a little toast at the end. Do you talk about
Yeah.
that?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, something some people want to do, some people don't. It's totally up to them. They've already, done the emotional part up at the
Yeah.
altar, hopefully. And so I think when they get out there, thank them, thank everybody for being
Those
there.
are my
and-
favorite couples when they
Yes.
do a thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, bravo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you've hung out this long, thanks again. But
Yeah.
I do like also. I love it when we have a father of the bride that speaks right before the dance.
Oh, that's
Right.
nice.
I think that's something that when you've hit that really deep emotional moment and everybody's tearing up,
Yeah.
and then you do the dance. That's kind of cool.
Oh, see,
I like that.
I
Yeah.
do
I
too.
hadn't really thought about it in that way. But
and that's
I-
where, again, everybody's wedding day is
Yeah.
however they design it to be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So is there any one last thing that you would love to share with couples to think about with their vows and their speeches?
Well, I think there's a misconception that if you get help, that it becomes less personal, less intimate. These are my vows. Wait a second, somebody else is involved, right? But what our role is to make it more personal, is to get it to a point where you're actually expressing things that you really feel, but also doing it in a way that calls up all of the examples and little things like we talked about earlier that provide the life to it, and that it makes it less generic, actually. And so I think I would just consider that you're getting help with other aspects. You're probably not doing your hair that day. You're probably not sewing your own dress, but you want everything to be perfect. And this is a way for us to help you make that happen without taking anything away from it being yours. And it will be your voice in the end of it doing it, and you're the one that decides the wording is right for you, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that, Brian. Brian, this has been so wonderful and such a great topic to talk about, and this industry needed you. So thank you
so much for having me. It's so great to be here.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you everybody for tuning into Wedding Day Podcast. We'll see you next time. See you, bye.